Attention. Yeah, I made a video about Dadgad last week and it was very, very popular. I was almost surprised how many hits it's had in such a short time. And I had a few people message me afterwards saying, can you make more Dadgad videos? So yes, of course I will make more Dadgad videos. So what I'm going to be looking at today is just a few different ways you can use the power of Dadgad to link chords together on the fly. Which gives you these really nice kind of ready-made, not too much thought, and it always sounds good. And then I'm going to be showing you just a few little tips for how to play in tuning in keys which aren't D related as well, because that is a kind of criticism which you can level at Dadgad, is that it best suits D and it's harder to play in other keys with it. But it's not impossible, and I'm going to be showing you a few tips for that as well. I've also made a second Dadgad video. That one is dealing with chord scales for the key of G major and the modes that are related to that. So E Aeolian, A Dorian and D Mixolydian. And that's going to be coming out tomorrow. The reason it's not out today is because of a problem with my graphics card, I'm afraid, so video editing's been rather difficult. I've ordered a brand spanking new one, so you can expect some very, very snazzy videos coming from Folk Friend in a couple of weeks when that is all installed. Can't wait. Anyway, yeah, so today's video is about Dadgad. In the first little Dadgad video I made, I was showing you a set of chords that you can use for tunes in D with Dadgad. And the first example we're going to do is going to be with a tune in D. So what you'll need to do is tune your guitar into Dadgad, assuming that you're following along at home. And then find the video which I made a little while ago, which is called Kerfunken Jig Slow Tune Loop or something like that. So I'm just going to get that up in the background here. If you're out there and you're watching, give me a comment and say hello. It'd be nice to know who we've got. Where are we? I'll put a link to this video in the comments in just a second so you can find it easily as well. Here we are. Yeah, it's a very old video, I'm afraid. Hello. Hiya. Welcome aboard. Thanks for tuning in. Dot matrix printer. Oh, you mean my wall? Hey, Yvonne. You alright? Yeah, this Kerfunken tune loop is very, very old. The audio quality is a bit rubbish, so sorry about that. But it will do the job for what we're doing today. It's filmed by my cousin Stig of the Dump. Yeah, so there it is. And what we're going to do to begin with is just break the tune down into chords 1, 4 and 5. And I'm going to write that on the wall very quickly. I won't run through how you do that because I covered it loads in previous videos. So we've got D, 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 G, D, D, and then A. And then the second time it does A back to D, of course, because you always go from chord 5 back to chord 1 at the ends of sections. And then the B part goes D, D, G, G, D, D, A, A, and the second time it does A back to D. Ooh. So those are the most basic chords that you could play. And I'll just play through the tune once, and I'll play those chords in Dadgad tuning. So the chords that I'm going to use for that are going to be D with one finger like this. That's a simple one. And then G I'm going to play like this with the slidable shape. This finger is optional for that shape. You can play it with it or without it. Doesn't make a great deal of difference. Personally, I prefer it with it in. So I'm going to put it in. And for the A shape, I'm just going to slide that chord up to, and that's going to give me A. Now, if I move that so you can see the chords in the background, hopefully you'll be able to follow along with this. So here is the tune. I'll play it once through the whole tune, just with the very simplest version of those chords. Now that's a perfectly good chord progression, but it's a bit boring. And what I'm going to do is start linking those chords together using the chord scale that I covered in my first Dadgad video. So just to recap that, the chord scale was D, E minor with the rock and roll fingers, and you put those on the bottom two strings, second fret. Then you slide that shape up to, and you add your index finger on the second fret of the G string. And as with the shape before, this third finger can be on if you like, or you can take it off. It's entirely up to you. I like it on, I'm going to leave it on. That's the third one. Then you've got G rather. Then you've got A. And then if you slide that up 2 more frets, you want B minor, so you move the index finger back one. That converts it into a minor chord. And then for the C sharp substitute, I'm going to use this shape, which is like the easy D chord, but you add your third finger on the 4th fret of the A string, and that gives you a kind of C sharp substitute. I'm rattling through these because I've covered them all in the previous Dadgad video, so that whole scale on its own would sound like. What I'm going to do then, in the A part, for example, where we've got D, 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 G, we've got quite a lot of D leading to G. I'm going to link between those two chords by making stairs. So I'm going to go D, E, F sharp minor, G, like that. So with the tune, I'll just play that through so you can hear what it sounds like. Find the start of it again.
Yeah, so that's it. Good luck. Don't forget to subscribe. You can do that in the box down below. Please like my Facebook page if you haven't done so, or a phone call. Thank you for watching. I'll have more videos up very soon. Subscribe. Bye.
So I'm going up till I get to G, and then just back to normal. So that's that. It's a really useful thing. If you know where your chord 1s and your chord 4s are, you can join them together by using the chord scale as stairs. For the B part, I'm going to use the chord scale as stairs in a different way. I'm going to go down it instead of up it. So for the B part, we've got D, D, G, substituted to B minor. And that is because a G chord is made up of the notes G, B and D, and a B minor chord is made up of the notes B, D and F sharp. So it's got two notes in common with the G chord, and that means that you can use the B minor instead of the G. So what I'm going to do is, going down from D, I'm going to go D, kind of C sharp substitute, and then B minor, and I'm going to put B minor there and stay on it for a bit. The reason I'm not going to keep going down is because I don't really want to put a chord 5 there, because it's the middle of a section and it's not where chord 5 should go. So I'm going to stick on B minor. And then here, I'm going to move on down. So I've skipped out chord 5, but I'm going to carry on down the scale. So I've gone B minor, A, G, sorry, no I haven't. I've gone D, C sharp, B minor, A, F sharp minor, E minor, A, like that. So I'm basically going all the way down the scale like stairs throughout the B part. And the reason that when I get to, I'm going to have an E minor here where this first half of the A bar is, but it's going to have its A there. And that's okay because as long as it's got an A in that bar, if you go up to A from E minor, that's a 2-5, and a 2-5-1 is a kind of finished chord progression that everybody recognises. So that's kind of, you know, acceptable, accepted. And the second time I do it, where I've got to have 5 back to 1 to make the section sound finished, I'm going to go D, C sharp, B minor, A, G, F sharp, A, D. So I'm just going to cut off my stairs and put the A, D back in to make the section sound finished. Yeah, so I'll play through the A part and then through the B part, doing ascending for the A part and descending for the B part. Here comes the B part. D, B minor, G, F minor, E back to A, D, C sharp, B minor, G, F sharp, A back to D, D, C sharp, B minor, G, F sharp, B minor, A, D, C sharp, B minor, G, A, D. Something like that. So that gives you these kind of really nice ready-made chord progressions, and as long as you've got your chord 4s and your chord 5s in the right places, you could just use them to link between chords 1 up to chord 4. The other thing that you can do with this kind of chord progression is you can use it to link from chord 5 back to chord 1. So you can do things like da 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 dung, that kind of thing. So if you were playing an A, you can go like that, and then back to your D. That kind of thing, and that's a kind of nice little finishing thing if the tune's not too fast. Also a useful little tip. I've said in previous videos about substituting chords for their related minors. If you wanted to play, let's say the tune's been through once, and the second time you want to play a sort of darker rendition of the tune by substituting the first chord in it for its related minor, you can go up or down from there as well. So if I had played the tune once and then I played the second time I played, starting on B minor, something like that. So I've still got my chord 5 in the right place, that's the important bit. I can actually go down from the related minor chord as well, so it would sound like and I've still got my chord 4 on that end bit, so that's a pretty nice little progression as well. Yeah, so basically the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you've got these chord scales under your belt, they kind of come as ready-made chord progressions for linking things together with. Let's have a look at another example. Let's go into a different mode. We'll do a tune in the key of G, which is another one which I have made a little tune loop for at some point in the past. Let's have a look. Somewhere on here I've made a tune loop for Tell Her I Am, so let's use that one because that's in the key of G. Slightly more recent, I've got less hair in this one. I'll put that one in the comments as well.
Hello YouTube, my name is Nye. You join me once again in the Finale Guitar Studio in Sheffield. A link to the Facebook event, which if you follow you will get updates of my progress. Anyway, here's the tune.
Tune starts at 152 for this one. So this is a tune in G major, and I will put the simplest chords up to start with. So it goes G, 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 C, C, G, 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 C, C, D, D. And the B part goes G, 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 A minor, A minor, A minor, A minor. Just for the record, where I say it goes A minor, that's a chord 4 section, but those bars go da 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 dum. So there's loads of A in those bars. So although it's a chord 4 section, I always play A minor there, which is chord 4's related minor, because the bar's just full of A, so it makes sense to play A minor. C, C, D, D, like that. There we go. So that's the complete chords for this one. So we've got our chord 1s all through here. We've got a chord 4 there that we can link to. So let's just have a look at the A part to begin with. So the chord scale for G major in Dadgad is your G slidey shape. Then any sort of A or A minor you can do. That one's very easy. The one I really like is this one, where you put your index finger on the 2nd fret of the D string and your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string as it is now, or the B string as it would normally be. And that gives you a really nice A minor 7 chord, which is quite jazzy. So that's that one. For B minor, I'm going to do a very simple B minor 7 chord, which is like this. 2 fingers. It looks like A7 in standard tuning, but with the fingers moved down a string. So they're on the 2nd frets of the low A string, and the G string. Miss off the bottom string for that one. For C, I'm just going to do 2 fingers like that. So that's kind of like the bottom of a C chord in standard tuning, except that you're only doing 2 fingers from it now. For D, I'm going to do D, easy peasy. E minor is like that. And my F sharp chord is going to be this, which is the one that I addressed in the first Dadgad video. And then we're back to G where we started. So this is the same deal. Instead of just going G, 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 C, C, I could go either up or down the chord scale. So I could go G, E, E, G, A minor, and then B minor, C, E, E, C, like that. So I'll just play you what that would sound like going up the chord scale like that. G, 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 A minor, A minor, A minor, A minor, B minor, B minor, B minor, B minor, C, D, G, G, A minor, B minor, C, D. So that's quite nice. The reason why I was doing those chords for a whole bar each instead of half a bar like in the first example was because you've got 3 complete bars of what is a chord 1 section there, followed by a chord 4 section. So if you went at the speed of half a bar, you'd overshoot the chord 4 and you'd have to come back to it. So I slowed them down to pad the space out a bit. I'm just going to try and see if I can do it for half a bar each and see how it comes out. You'd have to go back down again, I suppose. Something like that. I don't know. It doesn't really work anyway. So if you've got a chord 4 section, that has to be chord 4 or something related to chord 4 like A minor. Then if that's a long way away, then spread your chords out in order that you hit it at the right time, if you know what I mean. So that's going up the scale. The other option of course is going down the scale, and if I do the A part again, I could go G, G, F sharp minor, E, E, E minor, C, E, E, E. So I could make my little stairs going down to E minor, skip out D because it's chord 5 and you don't put chord 5 in places other than the end, usually, very, very rarely anyway. And then skip on straight to C. So this is what stairs going down sounds like. Oh, sorry, I forgot I was meant to be doing a bar each. Here we go.
Anyway, here's the tune.
Something like that. So you can see I was putting in the chord 5s at the ends of the sections just to make it sound finished. Another little note on this tune, if you listen to the tune, the very last bar of the A part goes da 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 da, and it actually ends on a long D note. That's quite unusual, but then it kind of rectifies it at the start of the B part by beginning on a note from a G chord. But what that means is for your guitar backing is that you can end the A part on the D chord. You don't have to come back to chord 1. And you will find that there are quite a lot of Irish tunes that end on a chord 5 sounding note as the long note at the end of the A part. But almost never at the end of the B part, because that would make the tune not sound very finished. There are some tunes that do that, which do it deliberately not sound finished, but not very many. Anyway, yeah, so that's another little example. Yeah, while we're here, we could have a little look at how D minor works, because that's a really good Dadgad key. There are 2 variants of D minor, of course. There's D Dorian and D Aeolian. I'll run you through D Dorian because that's the commoner of the 2, and then we'll have a little look quickly at the end at how Aeolian would differ from that. So if we were in D Dorian, the good thing about lots of the chords in Dadgad is that they are only composed of roots and fifths, so it's not definite whether they're minor or major, because the third of a chord is what tells you which flavour of chord it is. So these are flavourless chords. So this flavourless D minor or flavourless D major, it can be this flavourless D, some people call these modal chords, which I don't like because that's not really what modal means. But anyway, it's a chord with no third, so it's neither minor or major. So I can use this chord as D minor as well if we're in the context of a tune in the key of D Dorian or D Aeolian. So the D Dorian chord scale, if I grab my mode wheel, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. D Dorian begins on D minor, which is there. It's the second mode, which is why I've written a 2 on it. And the other chords then are the same ones that you would find in C major. So you've got D minor, E minor, F major, G major, where are we up to? A minor, B diminished, C major, and then you're back where you started on D minor. So running through those in Dadgad is easy peasy. You can use your slidable shape, same as we did before. So D, either major or minor, doesn't matter, D modal if you like. Then E minor, those 2 like that. Then if you're in D Dorian, then it's F sharp, the same as we used before, this kind of F sharp minor sort of shape, either with or without this optional finger. I like it better with it in, it kind of makes it more tense, that chord, compared to this, which is very, kind of sounds, this one kind of sounds like it's content with its lot, whereas this one's like, got a bit more angst, which is more musical in my mind. Anyway, next one is G major. So you take your slidey shape, you move it up 1 so that the root note and your middle finger is on G, and then the index finger controls whether that shape is minor or major, so you majorize it by moving it up a fret. There's your G major chord. Then you want A minor as the 5th chord in D minor, so you move it up 2 frets and you minorize the index finger. There's your A minor chord. Next one is going to be B minor, so either the B minor that we used before, easy B minor 7, or B minor up here, way up on the 9th fret, also good. And then C, either like this, or way up here on the 10th fret, and then you're back where you started on D minor. So if you were playing along with a tune in D Dorian, well, you could do exactly the same things that we would have done with those kind of examples. So you'd work out where your chord 1s and your chord 4s and your chord 5s go, and you can link them together but using the chord scale of D minor that we just went through. So if it was going to be, let's say our chords were D minor, D minor, D minor, D minor, D minor, D minor, G to A minor, something like that. Then what you could do is link it together in the way that we've done, except now you're using the chords from D minor. So you could go sorry. Something like that, or you could go in the other direction and you could go D, C, B minor, A minor, something like that. So yeah, my point is that working out the chord scales for the common folk keys and then using them to link together 1, 4 and 5 sections is a really useful technique, and especially useful in Dadgad, where as long as you know the right shapes for your chord family, your chord scale that you're playing in, then the open ringing strings on top will always give it that nice Dadgad-y classic folk sound. There's also lots of room for experimenting around with little bass runs, because let's just go back to our original example in the key of D major. If I just play around with playing with bass runs, even if I'm not too confident on the chord shapes, because it's more or less an open tuning, all the strings are pretty much going to sound good in D. So if I did something like that kind of thing, all I'm doing there is using one finger at a time to play the scale of a D major chord on the bottom 3 strings. So D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp and back to D. And just by running around that, you can get actually a pretty alright sounding accompaniment, even if you're not too confident on your chord shapes. And through combining that with the slidable shape, which is just 2 fingers, which I've covered in the first video, you can more or less find a way to back any of the more common folk keys fairly easily with minimal